Okay, and hello everyone. We should be on air now. With me today is Leif from devs&dice. You should probably
Hello.
all know him by now. And we're just going to say hello to everyone in the chat before we start talking to our guest. So, hello Charlene, hello Tina, hello Campaign Terrain, how are you doing? And let's see, devs and
Robert
dice.
Evans.
I think I know the guy somewhere.
Oh
Robert
yeah.
Evans, how are you doing? Earthman Brick, Lawrence Davis. Hi, Lawrence. Lawrence was very excited to have you on the stream. He's a big fan of yours.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Lawrence. I think I recognize that name from somewhere.
And
Uh,
Terraintronics. Hi, David. I hope you're doing great.
oh man, that's awesome. I was seeing in front of me how it would be just like a tumbleweed, it's like no one's here, Leif. Sorry, nobody. Get the heck out, This is awesome. Oh my God. Now I'm getting a little bit flustered. That's
No,
okay.
it's
Is
okay.
my hair
Relax.
on straight? No.
Yeah, I think you've just got a bit of smudged makeup over there,
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
but you'll be fine.
Smudge makeup is good. Yeah.
So, Leif, how about you tell us a bit about yourself? Because we know the guy on YouTube, but we don't know
Hmm.
anything about you as such. The man.
Oh, the man, the myth, the legend.
That's the one.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So I'll preface this and with saying you should have like a red flag or something or yellow flag or because I'm one of those people who I mean I have boundaries, but I'm very open. Like so when it comes to hey, tell me about yourself, yeah, it could take a while. But from a nerd point of view, I guess I can say I'm a 42-year-old nerd, born 1980. I sort of followed. I mean, it's corny to say it, but when I look back at it, my earliest memory of anything nerdy is that I think Swedish television showed the first Star Wars, so A New Hope,
Okay.
Episode 4. And it's going to sound so weird. At the time, I lived at a bona fide bloody farm, right? So there was nothing there to do. And I think I was about 3, 4 years old. And let's just say it like this that, a boy with a stick and some imagination, I went around like, because even at that point, I was like, Obi-Wan is the shit. Or I didn't say it like that. I probably said he's cool. But yeah, so I mean, I remember because my mom has retold this story so many times because we had, among other things, chickens, and if you have chickens, you have a rooster, and the goddamn rooster went insane on me because it was like, "Oi, it's my ladies over here, you with a stick." And I was like, well, and finally it turned out that the rooster had to be sold to another farmer somewhere out in the Tatooine wasteland, as it were, in my mind's eye. I think that's the earliest sort of playing with imagination, and I think I've always, even as a child, I remember my mom telling me that I always loved to entertain people.
Okay.
um, and I think that's actually something that drives me. And it's sort of a combination of, and my wife hates me whenever I try to explain something because I go into too deep to explain something. She just wants to know, no, just tell me, is it left or right? I'm like, no, the reason we're going left is because, and then I try to teach a man to fish thing. But that's a passion of mine as well, and it so happens that I think that's been something that has been haunting me, or haunting me. I don't know. Been blessed by having those things all of my life. The first nerdy thing, proper nerdy, is oh shit! I'm totally not looking at the chat. Oh, hello everyone. um, the first sort of really nerdy thing I think is Hero Quest when that came, and I have a 9 year older half brother,
Okay.
so I'm sort of an 80s child, but influenced heavily by the 70s and him. So, even as a child, when I walked into his room, he had a drum set, lots of actually, I let me put it this way. I don't think there was a single spot on the walls nor the ceilings that weren't plastered with like a lot of like Kiss posters.
Okay.
So early on, in my family, it was like, my brother, he's the, evil one. He's the dark, he has, heavy metal posters and stuff like that. But we've always been quite kind of open about, hey, it's metal, it's not Satanism, we're not hurting anyone. Take it easy. My mom's always been good with that. I'll even get back to that after a while. Role-playing games, Swedish role-playing games, actually,
All right.
because we have quite a big scene in Sweden when it comes to role-playing games. And back in 91, the first one called Drakar och Demoner, which means dragons and demons, came out.
All right.
And that influenced me quite a lot. And then, a couple of years later, Kult, which exists still today in an English version.
That's definitely very, very, very metal and non-child friendly, but it's a good game.
Very non-child friendly, and it's funny, or it's not funny at all, but it's interesting because Leif. Now I'm talking about myself in third person, douchebag. Leif, as a sort of an 11, 12-year-old, I was just on the cusp of becoming a teenager or something. And Kult, when it came, for anyone who doesn't know it, it's a very dark game. It handles, like, it's like if you were to combine Hellraiser with sick stuff from agnosticism and all of this. It all fits together, but it's really, really bad. And I'm not talking like, ooh, somebody might die, but no, really bad, like dark. By my mom, she had the talk with me, not that talk, the talk about, what are you and your friends doing? I hear screams from your room, and then everyone comes out and everyone's fine. But actually, she was always kind of cool with that, because I just sat her down. It's like, all right, tabletop role-playing games is this. You have a bunch of your friends around the table and you play theater, but there are rules. So you take a character and blah, blah, blah. There's a game master. And she was like pretty damn cool about it. She was like, that's good. Continue doing that, my son. That sounds creative. So I've always had, good support from my mother. I have to give her a little bit of a shout out if she's watching. I don't think she even knows how the internet works, I was going to say, but yeah,
But
that's been
it's nice that
influenced.
she gave you that she took the time to understand what you were doing, rather than,
Yeah,
oh no, this is horrible. Ah.
exactly. And the funny thing is, like, I think if you stop kids from like, playing RPGs, they're just going to want to play it even more. Like, I so wanted to see Friday the 13th as a child, because that was the only film my mother said, don't, no, you can't watch that.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, in my head, I had built it up to be like The Exorcist times a million. And once I saw it, I was like, it's dude in a hockey mask, except the first one. But you know what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah,
at
totally.
all scary. But yeah, what else can I say to wrap this up? I'm a game developer by trade. I'm a game designer. I've
Really, all
worked
right.
about I worked about 20 years in the video game industry.
Nice.
So I guess when I say I'm a nerd in all kinds of ways.
You're a professional
Av-
nerd.
a professional nerd, avid believer in the rule of Wheaton. Everyone's welcome. Doesn't matter who you are or where you come from or what sexuality or whatever you are, as long as you don't be a dick. That's the rule. And that's something I stand for. Like, everyone is welcome, and I will speak up if I see injustice. I'm yeah. Uh, I had my turns with that during childhood as well. Bullying and all of that shit. But The cool thing is, since I grew up in a little shit town, as we call it in Swedish, uh, I I actually looked it up the other day. About
Hmm?
1,000 people, so everyone knew everyone. Once you saw this sign to the center, you already passed it.
Okay.
Those sort of things. Uh, but it was kind of cool because, like, I was a jock in the sense that we played sports, but I also was a nerd that hacked away on my Amiga.
Oh, I
That
remember those.
also, oh god, am so pissed off at myself that I sold my Amiga 500. I would have loved to have that shit here now.
I would have loved to keep mine, but I literally burnt it out.
Oh god. Also, you used it that much at least.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I usually credit like the secret of Monkey Island. I usually say that I knew how to do insult sword fighting before I knew how to speak English properly. You know.
uh,
uh oh The
that game.
Exorcist camp. Yeah, I love Monkey Island. Always loved it. Let's see here. I'm jumping back and forth, but yeah, I've always sort of the same people I played sports with was the same people that I played not D&D, but Swedish D&D
Alright.
with. So there was no real distinction between are you a nerd or are you a jock or are you like, screw that. We're kids and we do what we want to do, you know. So I see myself as fairly well versed in a lot of areas. A bard, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's healthier that way.
I think so. I think so.
So people in the comments are enjoying the
Oh,
hashtag chicken trauma story.
yeah. The damn rooster. I'm sorry, rooster, if you're out there somewhere. It was me or you. He
Okay,
probably went somewhere good.
yeah, somewhere better.
Exactly.
Somewhere warm, probably with a side of potatoes and things like that.
Oh my god.
So that went dark real fast. Uh,
No, no.
okay, David is saying Leif's cottage build inspired the cottage build I made for a recent con. Okay, then I raised my own plans based on the same shape. And
Oh,
Lawrence Davis saying Leif's cottage build is a major influence on my current Baba Yaga build.
that's
So yeah.
nice. I loved that cottage build, to be honest, because honestly, I spent, and this wasn't me just being lazy,
Hmm?
but I spent so many hours probably watching like YouTubers build, going off the grid. It's like, screw this, I'm going outdoors and I'm making myself a cottage building, and I was like really watching, like, all right, because most of the people actually did it without sort of modern tools or power tools.
Yeah, of course.
So and sort of that is how I did the building. So I was sort of proud of it because even my stepdad or my dad, we call it plastic dad in Sweden. He's a carpenter
Right?
by trade. So I sort of like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And afterwards he was like, we've always talked about making a log cabin. Now technically you know more about this than I do, kiddo. So someday I might do the real log cabin.
Okay, speaking of builds, before we jump on to
Mhm.
talk about how we got started with building terrain and stuff like that,
Yeah.
let me just drop a link to the community showcase in the chat. So if you've got any builds you want to show off later on the stream, just drop them in there, guys. Okay? I know that a few people have already been dropping some pictures for you to look at later.
That's cool.
Okay, so how how
That's
how did you get started with building terrain and stuff?
Yeah. So technically, I guess I started really. I think okay. You wanted to know Leif? Here's Leif. I started D&D thanks to my very good friend Guillaume. He's a Frenchman and he's one of my best friends. I love him to death. And in the beginning, I was like, "Screw D&D." I didn't say this to him, but he was actually the one who said, "Should we play D&D?" And I was like, "Nah, screw D&D. D20 system, hate it." I love it now. But anyways, it was. my turn to be a dungeon master. And I had this weird notion that I really wanted it to be fair. And we had some players that, and in general, it's hard when it's chaotic, it's combat. Oh, I thought that the kobold was there and I was here and it was 20 feet, not 30 feet, all of that stuff. I wanted nothing of that. So I was like, the hell can I do? I'm a designer. For Christ's sakes, I should be able to solve this. And then I was like, well, shit. I guess I have to start making terrain because I don't want to draw everything. So literally, I started to solve a problem. But at that point, I was fairly adamant that, but I'm not going to be one of those idiots that spends, hundreds of dollars on minis. Screw that. And that lasted about, I don't know, 2 weeks. Then I started buying minis. So yeah, let's just say that it was from a practicality point of view. And then I think going back to the Amiga, I actually did a lot of deluxe painting, and I always enjoyed painting, but I sort of slipped on a banana peel and ended up as a game designer. So I think it was sort of my way to come back to being some sort of an artist in some way. But it was a practical sort of, I wanted people to know where they were in combat. And one more thing, the whole thing about getting to know me. I get a guilty conscience if I happen to kill off a player character. And I want it to be, I roll open dice, for instance. And I want everyone to see this is what happened. And of course I RP the monsters and so on, but I'm I cheer on the players. I want them to succeed, but I'm trying to, be an asshole about it. But yeah, so that's where I start.
Okay, and I see that you've got a Mordheim shirt on, which is
Yes.
great taste, by the way. So
you.
you also got into tabletop wargaming before, after this. How did that work out?
Yeah, so that was, and he's actually one of my patrons today. Andreas Winberg was really the guy who, and I if he is out there, and sorry if I remember this, but my memory of it is that I was home in between sort of studies one summer. I had just gotten my first job. This might be interesting. I worked on Electrolux. I don't know if it's a sort of European brand of house appliances and stuff, or if it's Swedish. It might be Swedish.
I
Electrolux.
think I've heard of it.
Okay, yeah. So I made the vacuum bags at a factory one summer, but it was awesome because Leif got money. And then, I had some friends and they were like, oh, Warhammer. And I saw all of these armies, looked super cool. But then I heard what it cost and I was like, oh, shit, no. But then Andreas said, well, what about Mordheim? It's sort of the best of both worlds. And also, I know you like RPGs. There's some sort of progression element to it. And we played it that summer and I ended up buying like several war bands and so on. And I fell in love with it, and I've sort of identified it afterwards, like the one that got away from a gaming point of view. And now I've gotten my Dungeons and Dragons group into playing Mordheim. So we're playing it like whenever someone can't join the D&D session, we're like, all right, anyone up for Mordheim? Yep. And then we play Mordheim. And I'm making a board now also, 4x4 foot board, which is almost killing me. But I'm almost there.
Yeah, that was I think it's 23 years old now, and I think it's still one of the best games of that type around.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I'm sure I've heard that Necromunda also has the whole progression thing. Because to me, it's like, if we're gonna do some sort of reference, it's like XCOM, right?
Yep.
If you play XCOM, you get some randomized, unit. It gets better. You start forming a connection to it, and then it dies.
Yep.
it's awesome. My leader just died the other week, which was like devastating. I was like, that's so many experience points and brace of pistols and everything.
Yep,
And
all gone.
yeah, but it was like, all right, pick yourself up, boyo. This is the journey. The journey is what is interesting, not the end goal. Yeah, I
Okay.
thought so, Lawrence Davis. I thought I recognized your name, like I said.
Press again. Okay, Pulp Atelier. Hi Martin. It says, I love the more time buildings you do. Yeah,
Thank you
those are
so
some very
much.
good ones. We'll probably look at them in a second.
Hmm.
And Earthman Brick is saying Games Workshop seem to abandon their best work, like War Master, More Time, Gorka Morka, etc.
Mm.
Yeah, I think they start out with planned lifetime. Like they don't, apart from their main products, they don't maintain them for more than 5 years, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and I think it's also one of those things, and I'm not sure. I don't know anything, but I would guess that there's probably smart people at Games Workshop sitting and thinking about what is sort of self-cannibalizing, or some of their products. Because I know that, of course, 40K and Age of Sigmar, and like I'm not super into the news and whatnot, but I heard that the old world is coming back, but not it doesn't feel like it's coming back with a bang. They might be, sneaking some stuff out. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't really follow that the releases anymore.
No, I'll just sort of, react to it when it's out in the store.
Exactly. Like the mature adults we are.
Yes, of
Yes, of
course.
course. Okay, what do you say we look at the photos that you sent me of your terrain? Maybe talk a bit about them because there are some very awesome details in there.
Oh, sure. Yes. The, hope I think of something to say.
Oh, we will
I'm going to
ask.
be like, that guy that's having a PowerPoint and reading exactly all of the words. No, I'm not going to be that guy. Oh
Okay.
God, this one is probably my most hate love build of all.
Why the hate?
Well, honestly, the video wasn't very successful,
All right.
and it's one of those centerpieces that it because I in my background as a video game designer, usually I've designed open world games or games with a sandbox in them, which means I love reusable assets or assets that can, in the right context be something, and then in another context can be something else. I know I will use this one, but it's also super big. Like it is over, like, I think 1.5 foot or something,
All
like
right. I didn't realize that.
four. Yeah, no, it's huge. You see the minis
Uh-huh.
down there? It's huge. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Hate. I'm being a little bit facetious. I don't hate it really. I love the fact that I got it done, and that's the most important thing. And it looks okay, I think. I
I
mean,
think it looks more than okay. So you've got a light going on in there, I think, yeah? Some kind.
yeah, exactly.
How do you get the? Is the battery in that capsule
Yes,
itself, or how?
exactly. And you can
All right.
actually, if you, there is actually a link, because I made the capsule or the crystal and all of that. I modeled it myself.
Okay.
And I think I have a link in that video if you want to, print it out yourself and whatnot. But yeah, it's a hollow crystal that I printed out in transparent, essentially. So it's nothing. That's actually one of the things I want to improve in. It's the electronical part. Like last time I did anything electronic, I short circuited my grammar school, and everyone was like, who did what?
Yeah.
And I was like,
I've been there too. I know exactly what you mean.
I don't know why, but electricity, it doesn't come natural to me. So,
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's packaged, that's fine. But as soon as we're playing around with it, that's. But I think
yeah.
David from Terraintronics might be able to help you on that.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of your videos, Terraintronics, and you scare me. It's like, Oh shit. Is that the level I need to, know? But I'm sure it's, simple for someone who knows it, but for me it's like it's I don't understand anything about electricity except put the plug in, pull the plug out, on, off, Uh it's cool though with electronics if you can get that
Oh yeah, absolutely.
working in your build.
Speaking of David, he asked you, can you give an example of a video game you've released?
Yeah, sure. Well, I work at EA Dice currently, so I've released, and when I say I mean I and about 1,000 other people, so it's not Leif that did it. But first game I released was Battlefield 4, then I think it was Battlefront, then Battlefield 1, and so on and so forth. I worked previously at Avalanche Studios also. Worked on Just Cause and Just Cause 2, a little bit
All right.
on Mad Max. Worked at Ubisoft Montreal, where I learned, where I met the wonderful people of Quebec or Montreal, and I released their Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands.
Whoa. Right.
First game was on the PlayStation 1, World Rally Championship Arcade. There you go.
PlayStation 1, that's a while ago.
Oi, are you calling me old?
Oh, come on,
Yes.
you're the same age I am. I'm not calling you old.
Thank you. No, no,
Vintage maybe.
vintage. It's French, you know. No, it's cool. When I say that to some of the youngsters, they're like, PlayStation 1. And I can see in their eyes, they're like, wait a minute, where's the cobwebs on this old timer? Like he still, I was like, yes, I still have life in me, you know. But it's cool. It's cool.
So, back to your build. You've got
Mhm.
some interesting object source lighting going on, I guess, over here, which I think it's a common theme in many of your pieces that I've seen from those that you've sent me.
Mhm. Are you talking about the whole green
The whole
on
green
the
stuff, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I mean that's not painted, just so they're very clear.
Oh, all right, all
It's
right.
no, heck no. It's essentially using lighting. I'm trying to become a better miniature terrain photographer as well.
Got it?
And actually one of the things, if we get to that, you'll see it super clear. And it's really one of those things that I love the fact that you sort of have to, or not have to, but it's good if you study different arts
Hmm?
or disciplines. I've always been a jack of all trades in my sort of we call it gymnasiet. I guess it's like upper high school or something. I went the media program and I actually went both sort of blocks because you had to choose, but I didn't. I went alternated because I didn't want to choose between editing film and writing articles and doing 3D. And so I sort of love it how you can get informed and get the better result by studying different arts
Yeah, 100%.
and just light.
Ah, I like what you mentioned about the the education system because we didn't get those options when I was in high school here, so
Yeah.
it's interesting that you had those available because that's really really good.
Yeah, no, definitely. But it was also one of those things. I still remember my guidance counselor because you can like this is different for every, I guess, country and whatnot. But when you're like 16, you graduate the ninth grade in Sweden, and then you get to choose like what do you want to do now for like 2 or 3 years. And I had my heart set. I want to go the media program.
All right.
And my guidance counselor, I he's probably gone by now, but old man, no hair, glasses, super grumpy, and his name was Bertil, and he just said like, "No, you shouldn't go the media program. It will only cost you a shit ton of money, and you won't amount to anything." you know,
That's very
and then
encouraging.
scared the shit out of my mom, but I was like, no. Already at that point, I had made up my mind. Like, I want to do something within entertainment.
All right.
So I was one of those determined little bastards. I don't know where the heck that went now, but it's cool. Um,
So, these ropes or chains that you have here,
Yeah. So
those are twisted wire, yeah?
those are twisted wire. Exactly. I wanted to do, I think, rope. Yeah, exactly. I was like, should I do them up chains? Because chains, then I could have them magnetized. And I was like, wait a minute. If you twist up some wiring, it almost looks like rope. If you're squinting with your eyes, all right, let's do that.
From a distance, I thought it looked like chain. I mean, until I really zoomed in. But yeah, that's one of those
Yeah.
things. I should really have thought of that on one of my recent builds because I did go with a chain eventually.
Mhm.
Didn't quite work out,
Yeah.
but this was a good idea.
Yeah. Now, I mean, and that's also a thing. Like, there's so many talented YouTubers out there. I mean, just now, I for my Mordheim board, uh, there's a section where I'm just like, Black Magic Craft. He did this on one of his builds. I can use this here. I've done this before, and it just made my life so much easier. And I'll even bring it up in the video. I think what specifically it was, or screw it. It was making pillars, and I was like
Okay.
putting one of my bricks, rowing them. I was literally doing it as if I were to do it in real life, but 4,007 times. And then I just realized, why am I doing it like this? Work smarter, not harder for once. Uh, and then I remembered his pillars, dungeon pillars, which, is. Can I give some tips to everyone out there who has anything to do with terrain or anything?
Please do.
Because one of the things I did, and like, I'm retro sort of actively making this sound much smarter than it was, but I sort of had a problem. I had I needed, terrain quickly. So I sort of, plowed through Black Magic Craft's, entire library and was like, want to do that, want to do that, want to do that, want to do that. And I just did it. And I didn't care if it looked, you know, good or not. Because I knew that one day, once I sort of, have learned all of this stuff, I will be able to come back to my crafts and make them better. So I sort of want to just say, just start by making stuff, and then you can update your buildings as you progress. Never stop yourself because you can't do something to the. Let me put it this way. I'm gonna quote what's his face? I can't remember, from The Office. I'm gonna quote Wayne Gretzky or Kevin Smith or Michael. What's he? The guy from The Office.
No idea.
Do you remember? No, okay. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's my motto in life, I would say.
But basically, you need to get in the mileage, so might as well start working.
Exactly. Exactly. And don't put too much pressure on you from the get-go, right? Just do it.
Unless you're a surgeon or something like that, but that's a different story.
Well, yeah, that's I'm not sure. Do surgeons shit, this got dark now, but I'm guessing that's even surgeons need to have some practical
Yeah, I believe so. I think so.
practice.
But I
And
think
I'm
they get people watching over their shoulder before they do that.
Yeah, and I guess it could also sometimes, I guess, be carcasses and stuff like that
I
that
would
they,
imagine so. Yeah.
sew this together. I've heard rumors that tattoo artists even like start with like pigs or pig skin or but I don't know if
I have
that's
no
true
idea.
or if it's anyone out there, anyone? Does anyone know? Do
Yeah.
tattoo artists use pigs or dyed carcasses?
Okay.
Pig carcasses?
Now I've got this idea of this pig just going around the farm with a
Tattoo.
sleeve after the.
The most badass pigs, like, duh, you know. Actually, I'm sorry. It's not funny if it really happens because it's bloody torture, but I'm just seeing in my comical world how, yeah, it's essentially, the Terminator 2 bar scene version of a pig. It's like da 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 da. Hey, sup? I can find you some truffles. Oh god.
Okay. Oh, Chickens Tabletop Crafting and Evolution of Gaming join the chat. And let's see who else.
Hello.
Quite a few people. Great to see you all. Yes, chicken, don't worry. Hashtag chicken trauma has nothing to do with real life
No,
chickens.
no, it's just a weird story from my childhood, and it wasn't that bad. It was, I guess, more of a chicken or the rooster that potentially had the trauma. I don't have any traumas from it. Yeah.
Okay, so earlier David was asking, show us the cottage. I'm not sure if we have it, but we
I think
definitely
I
have.
sent I think I sent you it. Oh, there we go.
Is it this one?
Yeah.
All right.
And I have to just say one thing, which so I used to watch lots of Bob Ross to chill
Okay.
out,
Love the guy.
happy little trees, and it's just wet and technique. That background is an actual painting. That's my first
Seriously?
background. Yeah, it's my
All right.
first canvas painting where I was like, and I literally stood here behind me because I like to get into the part, right? So I literally stood here behind me, like, all right, let's just do some happy little clouds. And everyone needs a good friend. So let's pin a little friend to the cloud over here. Oh, there we go. Because I wanted to get into that mellow, it doesn't matter, just put some paint on it and you'll get get it, halfway decent. And I mean, I can't believe I painted that. So I'm sort of happy with it, to be honest. Um,
I
it
didn't.
serves the
I
purpose.
didn't even realize it was a painting. To be honest, I thought it
There
was
we
just
go.
a still image you grabbed from somewhere. But that's really good. I'm also I
Now,
really like the textures on this one too. Quite a lot of your work.
yeah, so that's a lot of wood grain texture using what is it called? I think the wand or something like a
The
hot wire
hot wire knife, I
handheld.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
exactly. You can sort of get those from, at least in Sweden, and from like cheap electronic places where you have, you can detach. It has like three different heads,
All right.
one that cuts through, one that is like a long rod thing. And I use that to do all of the texture on the foam because I think personally I like the exaggerated look a little bit more. I think it reads more like wood.
Yeah.
Wood?
If you do realistic size grain, it's not visible at that scale.
No. And
Usually.
those logs are about 5 millimeters thick. So I looked at sort of references, what would the scale be? And I'm cheating a little bit, but I couldn't go much smaller than 5 millimeters because then it would be ridiculous to work with.
Yeah, I get it. And that's one thing I really try to go because sometimes you see these foam buildings that have half timber structures,
Hmm.
and the corner pieces are about this thick compared to the people.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah, exactly. It's a skill. It's a skill, to be honest. Like, even in anything you do, even if it's like level design digitally, scale is a tricky thing. And like here, I think I get away with it barely. Because I mean, you can obviously see that it doesn't look like realistic. It's not like, oh my god, there's a wizard out on my lawn. But it looks okay.
oh yeah, for sure.
And
It looks more than okay. Let's put it that way.
yeah, I like the shit house mostly. It was totally random. I was like, huh, I wonder if they would have a shit house. Let's make one.
Yeah, they should. They should, shouldn't they?
Even wizards need to do number twos.
Yeah, unless they go the Hogwarts way and just teleport it out of in the middle of nowhere.
Is that really the way they do it
It's
in
it's
some
official Harry Potter lore here.
It is. I did not know that. It's a little bit like, the boys, because the boys, the show, if you've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
it's essentially, that sort of discussion that I think originally was in a Kevin Smith movie called Clerks, where they started discussing what if Superman had, made, had romantic relations with Lois Lane. What would actually happen, because he's the Man of Steel? Everything he does is, you can imagine. The Boys is essentially doing that, and Hogwarts is sort of this version of that. It's like what actually happens, camera left moment, if you will, you know. Oh, Mallrats, cool. It was Mallrats, yeah, of course, that makes more sense.
Yeah, but basically, let's put it this way: what wizards do in the bathroom should stay in the bathroom.
Yes, I agree. All right, but yeah,
Okay. I think these logs and the scatter train was also was part of a separate video as well. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Yeah, and I think that was that's sort of the way I think about buildings. I'm not a lot into the whole clickable, YouTube game. Let me put it this way: YouTube is really a hobby of mine. All of the money that I get from it, and it's not a lot, but of course from my patrons and then from ad revenue, I don't need it, so it goes directly to finance more hobbying. So it's sort of its own eco eco chain or whatever you call
Chamber,
it.
yeah, echo chamber, yeah.
Eco, yeah, something like that. And so for me, the way I'm thinking about all of these things is essentially I want to populate, my tabletop. So I started out with, well, we need trees and stuff. Okay, this is those intros
Hmm.
that some people hate and some people like
I love them.
somewhat. Honest, very rarely are they planned. I might come up with the idea, an hour before I'm going to do it,
Right?
but very rarely are they planned. They do come from a very natural place. Like, for instance, this one was myself saying that, well, you haven't built a building, Leif. Proper YouTuber you make buildings. Like, you're not a terrain, like, get out. Evil Leif was saying that. And then, I had that conversation with myself and I just put it into a video. um and then it's funny that I went with a log cabin, but it also was a little bit of, I want to see if I can do it, because I've never seen a good log cabin tutorial before this. I'm sure it exists, but I didn't see it. So
So it's so basically just your planning process. Okay, what do I need for the table, or what do I want to build? Which
yep,
is
pretty
fantastic. I
much.
think that's the healthiest way to get things along.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And I very rarely, like I said, try to hit trends or anything like that, because to me, and then to each their own. But like I said, the whole thing why I mentioned about I have a steady income, like I have a day job. I don't want YouTube, I think, ever to become my full-time job, because I think it would be too stressful.
No, I
uh
100% agree with that.
and I admire, people like, Squidmar and all of the people out there who no, I'm gonna go for this. But for me, I don't think then I would like lay sleepless at night thinking, oh, what if people will hate me tomorrow, or something like that. I don't know. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I totally get you. I feel the same way about this kind of thing. Also because right now this is a way for me to reduce stress. And if I suddenly turn it
Yes.
into a job,
Yes.
then I said it becomes a source of stress.
Yeah. And in all honesty, I speak from experience. I used to love playing video games.
Hmm?
I played them so much. Then I started working with it. And I'm not saying that I hate video games, but I have a hard time separating myself from looking at them professionally, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. It's like I guess you're starting to see all of the smoke and mirror and strings, and instead of actually no, like some games put me into the seat where I'm like, no, I'm just enjoying this too much. Sorry, I didn't even analyze. Oh yeah, these trees, God,
These are some good looking trees.
big ones. They're humongous. Again, look at the scale. For some, weird reason, I was like, I want a 28 millimeter mini to be able to be underneath the roots of this tree.
No, a properly
And
large tree, you mean, yeah?
yeah, and I bloody did it. But and that's also a thing you'll see, because I sort of build stuff in batches usually, especially if it's trees or hills or something like that. And I do that because I will want to use them for my tabletop. You know.
Hmm?
So it's one of those things that it it I am as insane as, it looks like when I'm building, I don't know, 24 hills or whatever. Um, no, I don't have a massive house. I have a fairly large. I actually live in a townhouse, I think it's called, or a row house or
Okay.
whatever. So, but no, I actually gave. I just saw a question from Terraintronics. I gave away a bunch of my old terrain to my friendly local game store, where people can use that terrain to, play D&D or anything they want. So
Yeah,
that's my solution.
the discussion comes up a lot because practically everyone has this storage problem. Oops, I made too much terrain.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll see. I mean, I have sort of thought about. I'm not going to be too dramatic about it, but I've sort of thought about, after the Mordheim board, I think I'm going to chill out a little bit when it comes to, terrain crafting for a while, because I also do miniature painting, and I would like to improve as a miniature painter, and spend more time miniature painting, and trying to figure out, ways you can get better quick, so to speak, or
All right.
get good results quick. Um, we'll see.
I'm sure whatever you pick will be interesting. Speaking of miniatures, are these ones you painted yourself?
Yes, yes,
Because I really like
yeah,
the look of them.
yeah. So this was, uh, so if there's something you're afraid of from, in terms of like creatively doing, there's probably a reason you're afraid of them. And I was always a little bit afraid of painting. I don't even know what to say. Humanoid,
Really?
sentient beings. Yeah.
Like people and stuff like that?
Yes, because two things. One, I used to paint a lot of WizKids models, and they are overly detailed, in my humble opinion, at least for me. Um, these are Reaper minis, and they're a little bit more old school, I feel like, and they're a little bit more clear. They don't have 464 pouches and pockets, and so it was a fear of mine. And I think when painting them, I actually made a video about it. It was also in the middle of the pandemic, and we hadn't figured out a good way to play, D&D digitally. And honestly, these were my friends. I fucking missed them. Sorry, I swore bad,
That's
Leif.
okay.
I freaking missed them. So it was sort of a, you know what? Because I have, so originally Devs and Dice, and a lot of people might not know this, but it actually is a play on words, because I work for EA Dice. I'm a game developer, D&D, Devs and Dice. Originally, Devs and Dice was a YouTube channel where we had actual plays
All
of
right.
us playing D&D. So that's how the name came, and I just missed that. So I sort of plowed through the stuff we had recorded, which is unlisted now, and I just missed, you know, hanging out with these folks. So I sort of, I guess, worked through that by facing one of my fears, which was painting character models. And it turned out okay. Like, the fear is gone, and now I'm just a little bit more grumpier when it comes to what models I want to paint. So
Yeah, I mean, you always got to be a bit selective because some models are just time sinks,
yeah,
and
definitely.
I mean, let's put this way: painting the 36th pouch doesn't really give you that much value. You have to do it because it has to
No,
look complete, but eh.
No, and that's the thing I've started to notice also. Like, and I mean, this might be take this with a truckload of salt when I say this, but if you look at really well painted minis, I don't think all of them like they have some awareness of where they put their details because they know where they want you to draw. They know how to draw your eye to somewhere, if it is the face or the weapon or the hands. Very rarely do they want to draw your attention to the 40-second pouch on the belt behind the cape. That's not interesting. So I think a lot of my sort of notion when it came to miniature painting was that you need to be meticulous and paint everything. Screw that, I say today. Paint what matters. The trick is to understand what matters. That's really the trick, I would say. Don't go crazy everywhere because then no one's going to pay attention to it.
Yeah, that kind of thing is a trap I fall into quite often. Like, okay, no, the whole model has to get the same amount of attention, and it's like,
Yeah,
why did I do this to myself?
yeah, exactly. No, and I think it's easy. It's very easily happened. And I mean, I've even noticed that sometimes, some models, and I don't know really good examples of this now, but some models can have certain base coat areas which are just like, oh, this is a good base coat area because this is easy to paint. I don't know if it's a cape, for instance.
Okay.
You really want to paint that cape because it's easy and it has clear lines where it starts and where it ends. But really, you are going to see the model mostly from the front. Why are you putting so much effort on the cape? Because it's easy. you know I don't know. It's interesting to analyze yourself and try to improve yourself. I feel like I do that quite a lot, or try to at least. I
Okay.
have to say, the moss, I'm not a happy camper with. I think that's a case of too much glue, too little moss flock. If you look at it now,
Is it the moss on
it,
the tree or the?
yeah,
Okay.
on the tree, it looks a little bit too slimy. And again, I might sound like I'm being harsh at myself, but like, misunderstand me correctly. I love the tree. I fucking made it awesome, but there's always room for improvement. Don't put your ego into
Oh yeah, absolutely.
be open. There's always room for improvement.
I still think it looks great, especially
Yeah.
the textures on the. How do you make those textures?
That I mean, anything sharp and pointy.
Hmm.
I think I actually, now that you mention it, I don't know if it was for this build or if it was for some other build, but I actually made, and I hope to God I'm saying the right word now, sort of a small tool out of a brush that came off entirely. I made a small sort of rake-like
Oh,
looking
okay, all
thing.
right.
So it's just like three claws scratching at it. But I made it exactly as painstaking as you would imagine it,
Right.
bit by bit. Um, because yeah, not much else to do here in Sweden.
Uh, that's one thing I enjoy is making my own tools, whichever way.
Yeah, yeah, that's good stuff.
Okay, coming up next. Okay, now this one
Yeah,
this one really reminds me of bronze art for Dark Sun.
that's cool. Thank you. That's. Do you want to know the funny story about this?
Oh, sure.
How long do you think it took me to paint him?
Oh, 4 or 5 days, I guess. I'm just going by how long I would take to make those gradients and things.
Albeit I had an airbrush, it took a lamb shower.
No way.
Yes, way. I had a notion that I wanted to test,
All right.
and it has a lot to do with color theory. Remember what I said about I really love studying different
Mm-hmm.
arts
Yep.
to one of my sort of, I want to call her my friend. We're YouTube friends, but we're friends. Lila, the mini witch.
Okay. Yeah, I follow her channel.
Yeah, she's awesome. But I think she was the one that sort of started talking about how to be an artist and stuff. And I'll be honest, I've always felt that you're a little bit full of yourself if you call yourself an artist, to be honest. But then I sort of started to like chill out. She has studied, actual, art history and art theory. And there is logic in this. So I started to, instead of having a closed mind, open my mind. And then I started to talk with her on and off. And this was actually one of the theories I wanted to test. Because if you think about it, the yellow green is a complementary color to the sort of reddish orange, right?
Correct, yeah.
And it pops like hell. And in order to make the orange make more sense, I put it on some sort of red Martian, land, and it looks pretty good. And if you think about it, if you zoom in on, let's say,
Let's
the loincloth,
coming
for
up.
instance, or whatever that is, how much detail I put on the loincloth? Absolutely nothing. How much detail have I put on the fur that is around at the top of the loincloth? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
Still,
I see it now. These patterns don't have any highlighting or
nope,
whatever. Yeah.
didn't care. Didn't care. I just wanted to see, can I make you look at the bloody axe, look at his muscles, and go like, shit, that looks like a dude, badass dude, And yeah, and
Yeah,
that's the same thing. The Nightwalker, if you remember that when I painted
yeah.
that one,
I love that video. Let's bring it up.
it okay, cool. Same thing with that. That was one evening. Honest to God, one evening, and then some airbrushing, and then some brush, manual brush, and I purposely wanted it to be quick. But one thing that I've started to think about more, and I mean, if you're into this, you should think about it, is atmosphere. Because usually we tend to paint miniatures as if they were born in a laboratory and have, there's a sort of saying in 3D art called global illumination, or
Yes.
when, you have lights everywhere and everything looks like the way you would look at something in a
In a
sunny but
studio,
cloudy day.
basically. It's, yeah,
Exactly.
right, yeah.
Exactly. Whereas I wanted to, no, bring in the atmosphere, make it moody. And I think I'm starting to sort of find my own style, if you
All
will,
right.
when it comes to miniature painting, because I don't want to spend hundreds of hours on a mini. I mean, I would spend it if it means I'm going to take it to a competition. Then I bloody well probably spend like more than 100 hours. But if I'm just painting for the tabletop, I still sort of, I want to find a way where it looks bloody good and everyone can go like, oh shit, that looks good, but don't spend that much time. We'll see.
Okay, so Dungeon Maiden is saying with mixing warm and cool colors, you could end up with a grayish muck. Do you have any advice to avoid that?
Well, yeah, if you're mixing them, yes, but I do think that if you want to create contrast, like one of the things, I think it was Vince Venturella that said it, if you have cool highlights, you should have warm shadows, and vice versa. And I
Okay.
believe him, sort of. If you look at a color wheel, I think there is logic in it, but I don't know. I guess depending on what you mean with mixing. If you mean mixing them, actually, like, yeah, then I guess I rarely mix my paints, by the way. But I would say no. I don't agree. I think contrast, one type of contrast, is achieved when using well, the contrast that comes from the hues, from having green and red. It pops. I'm losing the words now. Warm and cool colors. Yeah, warm and cool colors. And what is it called when it's directly opposite? I totally forgot what it's called now.
Complementary.
Complementary.
Yeah, that's the one,
Complementary.
right?
Yes, exactly. Complementary colors. I do think that there is logic in it, but it doesn't have to be directly opposite also. You can, use something that is slightly desaturated version of it, but it will still have the same pop. I mean, I even do it here. If you look at my video now, I have a green blue
Mm-hmm.
light here, and then yellow light here, and then yellow light back there. And if you start to analyze stuff, you'll see that it happens more often or not in different videos, or how people choose their color scheme and whatnot. At least that's in my opinion. I mean, it's a hobby and everyone can do what they want, but I personally love the contrast.
And
But
then,
I've also heard that.
yeah,
Sorry, I this is. I need to share this.
shoot,
Sorry,
shoot,
Karl.
go.
So I think it was one of my friends, Nate, from Nate's Miniatures.
All
He
right,
was
yeah.
like, I think he was like searching, see if any of our channels was like out there, and I think he found a Reddit post, which was super fun. I can't remember, but it was like, oh, miniature painters that you should keep track of, blah blah. And he was mentioned there, and I was mentioned there, and it was very early in my miniature painting career. But I'm paraphrasing now, but it was like, oh, good stuff, lots of D&D. Personally, a little bit too flashy colors for my taste, but he's okay. And I've never considered myself being like, ooh, such a flashy color choice. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, to each their own.
Yeah, I
For
guess.
some, I might be too flashy or out there, but yeah.
Okay, just make sure that no one tells him about Frankie D, I guess.
Sorry.
Let's just make sure that no one tells that guy about Frankie D. That might kill him.
Exactly. No. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. I think also I've thought about it often, when you do collaborations and you like challenges and stuff. And I remember when Frankie, you're talking about Frankie the Crafter,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Yeah, I remember when we were about the same sort of sum of subs, and I was like, yeah, that's the person I would never in 100 years say, I'm gonna, even a friendly, but drop a challenge, because that dude is insane. He can, like, you would expect something from him, and then no, he'll do something totally different, because guess what? I know sculpting, and I'm really good at it. I can do like crazy weird shit. Like, some of his builds are out of this world. But yeah, he loves his colors as well. Let's just say
Yeah,
it
for
like
sure.
that.
One thing you were saying about contrast,
Hmm.
in terms of contrast, it's kind of something that I need to work on myself definitely, because I tend to think of contrast mostly in terms of value rather than the color temperature. Just
Yeah,
again, it's not necessarily worse, but hey, if you can have two tools, why have only one?
yeah. No, and I mean, I think one of the best investments I did was buy one of those color wheels that you can rotate
Seriously?
and yeah,
All right.
and it's one of those like from Dowler,
Yeah.
Dowler, whatever. Yeah, it's like in Swedish, it's like, I don't know, $10, $15, whatever. But if you look at it, like properly look at it and try to understand everything, because some people have naturally good color sense. I don't. I can see colors pretty good, but I don't have the sense that, oh, this is an amazing palette. Um, so for me, that has been quite the help. Like, sometimes I can, because I'm one of those people also who I usually think of it as, I need a framework or a stake in the ground. I need something to reference,
Ah,
and
okay.
I can fall in love with, for instance, oh, burgundy and purple. Oh, so wonderful, to see, red to burgundy to purple. That's, oh, I want to paint that. Okay, that's a start. That's a cape, perhaps. All right, so if that's the cape color, what should the rest be? Look at the color wheel. Well, if I want to have proper contrast, then I should go over to something bluish green. Okay, there you go. So it can inform you and it can challenge you, I would say, if you let it.
Nice. So it's like a lot of guesswork you don't really need to make. Yeah, all right.
Exactly. A little bit, or I guess slightly more informed guesswork. Or-
Yeah, yeah, okay, fair enough.
I mean, yeah, it's not an absolute science, right? Or that is a science, but painting it won't be
Yeah,
a
for sure.
science. It's an art. So yeah.
So let's see. Okay, coming up, I think these are, yeah, some of my favorites.
Yeah.
And this is XPS foam, I think, yeah?
Yes, it's entirely, I think, made of XPS foam. Oh well, except the sort of LED windows thing. Yeah, I sort of one of the things that I'm gonna put a stake in the ground now. Everyone ready? Everyone on the internet ready? I
Okay.
think I was first with putting flower boxes in a build.
Yeah, to
It
be
was
honest,
just
it's not something you see often, yeah, even
no,
now.
and it was just one of those small details like, oh, that could look cute. Come on, why not? I have some flower tufts. Let's do it. I think it's fun when you start thinking about, you know, what can I do that I haven't seen before at all, you know. But yeah, this is it's not my first building. Like and this is a little bit of a, BS. It's my first building that I did on video, or my second technically. The first one was the log cabin, I think. But just so everyone knows, before this, I had pretty much done like most of Black Magic Craft's smaller houses and so on to various degrees of success, to be honest. Like a long time ago, because I wanted terrain for my D&D game. Because again, what motivated me at the time was to have terrain on the table, not to look at it as an artistry, because I let that sort of just come if it the motivation came.
Okay. Those shingles are incredibly thin. It's like I think there's less than a millimeter in there, yeah?
Oh yeah, I think probably like, yeah, I would say 1 to 2 millimeters thin, something like that. Like the problem is that let me put it this way. It's so thin, those shingles, so that when you run that rod and do the wooden texture, in the sort of groove it creates, if you're unlucky, you might cut through very, very easily. But you should, if you hold it up to a light, you should see through it. You know, they're about that thin. And it's one of those things, you just create insane amounts of those and then put it in a box and then save the rest for a rainy day when you're doing your next building.
Yeah, it's one of those things you make a few million of and hope you never need them again.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh God. And yeah, I literally had to buy more like, XPS boxes the other day because I needed, X amount of foam bricks in this size, X amount of foam bricks in that size, and then the caps, and then I was just like, oh shit, I need to get more stones so I can tumble my stuff and have them separate. Because even though I'm chaotic as hell, I do like order. No, sorry, I'm just Daler and Rowney. Exactly, Karl. That good. Yes, exactly. I think anyone you can find, it's essentially it's two round discs that you can spin them around and it informs you of different combinations, and it's double sided, I think, the color wheel also.
Now, speaking of brickwork, I think my favorite thing not to do is making bricks, and it takes a while, but I prefer to draw them on or scribe them on with a pen or something. It's
Yeah.
not quite the same look, but I find it far less infuriating.
Well, honestly, I have to agree with you. Like, but I think this is a place where it really depends on what sort of, and I'm talking way out of my league here, but what I've gathered so far, it really depends on what sort of XPS foam you can get.
It does
And
make
I
a lot of difference, yes.
and I wish that there was, and I'm sure there is. I've asked in all of the sort of carpentry shops, about if there is one unifying global, measurement that says how dense is this foam? Because that's the only sort of thing that I've noticed, that even in Sweden, like I can get baby blue foam. It's not called baby blue, but it has the baby blue color. And then I can get like what I think the Americans call pink foam, which is like a purple lilac sort of foam. And then I can get like army painters foam. And all three of them feel slightly different and a little bit less or more bouncy, I would say. And then there's also grain in the
Yeah.
foam, which matters a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially if you're going to be scribing it.
Yes, exactly.
I think the only rating I've seen for, I don't know about grain, but I've definitely seen the ratings for density.
Mm.
But again, that's not a terribly precise thing, and if you get surface coatings and stuff like that, it can change everything.
See, my plan is, and I might swing by Malta and say hi, but
All right.
my plan is that once this whole pandemic thing really is like, done, or if it will be done, but once you can travel around Europe freely, I might someday just, take a week off, go down to Germany, I think, and just say, hello, I would like styrodur,
Styrodur, yeah.
and just say, fill the car, please. Uh,
Yeah, in fact, Tina Martins is saying 300 pKa is
yes.
the way to go, and
PKA. So is that the
sorry,
measurement?
KPA, not
Oh,
pKa, KPA.
KPA. Okay, 300 KPA.
Okay,
This is
and
good. And this is being recorded, so I will
yeah,
remember it.
definitely. And she said,
Tina, you're amazing.
yeah, she is. And
She's awesome, by the way.
she suggested we talk to Gerard Boom about it because okay,
Yeah.
Gerard is the
Yeah.
foam guru.
Well, oh yes, oh yeah. I actually, and I'll be honest about this. I actually I got some stuff from him sent to me, and I didn't even think that he would reply, but he replied, and it was super sweet.
Yeah,
And
he is. He
I
is.
honestly, over email, I sort of just geeked the f out because I was like, "You're kind of a rock star."
Yeah, he is. But he's so
I
sweet.
mean, he is super sweet, I mean the stuff he does, and Tina, you're guilty of this as well. Like some of the stuff when scribing, I'm sort of like, the whole thing. I can't believe it's not butter. It's sort of how do you do that? And I even actually one of my patrons actually, Chris, if you're out there, he uses pink foam, but he's been tenacious as heck with one of his build that he's doing, and it looks freaking amazing. Like I can't even explain it, but it's like if you were to take like Indiana Jones, like Inca, or not Inca, but some sort of temple with
Mhm.
lots of and he's just gone to town with different patterns and stuff, and it looks freaking amazing. I'm sure if you were to zoom in on one little thing, you would go like, that kind of looks shit. But when you zoom out, it's like, holy crap, there's so much details. And I think definitely scribing is, it's a good way to go. If, and I mean, it's like any tool, if you get comfortable with it, because what is it? I think Gerard can do at least 3 levels of depth on like a single sheet,
If
I
he's
think.
feeling lazy, I guess, yeah, three will do it.
I mean, to me, that's just like, dude, I'm just happy if I don't tear the foam up when I'm trying to do some cracks. It's God. Yeah, I mean, to me, that is insane. Insanely skilled. And yeah, Tina is yeah. I've seen your builds. Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So let's jump on to the next one.
Sure.
Here we go. More time townhouses.
Yes. I just saw. Oh, so fucking full of myself. Do you see the left post
Yeah, I
there?
noticed those.
Uh,
Let me zoom them
but
in.
it wasn't me that wrote it. It was an orc that came into. I was like, oh, he's the best. That one. I don't know. I
Oops.
like I said, I don't take myself too seriously. It's kind of cool. But yeah, Mordheim, and these are some minis from Hyla Miniatures. I just got them, or I think he sent them to me actually. Ramon over at Hyla Miniatures. He does, in my opinion, again, I don't like overcomplicated models,
Okay.
and Ramon does, in my opinion, models that, for me, are easier to paint because they're not cluttered with too much details.
Yeah, they still look really good though.
I think so. And that's the thing, because I mean, I'm a little bit old school, but I like it when it's like more focused on, dude, I'm undead and I have a big freaking axe. Look at my axes. I'm a knight. I have some cloth, but mostly I look like I'm straight from the Excalibur movie. I like the sort of it's the conviction in the modeling or sculpting is good in my opinion. But yeah, this was, I think I had a break, and I'll be honest, like I said, I'm very transparent as a person. I think this was during winter. I
Yeah.
think several of people around me in my family, extended family, had all kinds of health scares. My mom had like one or two health scares. My let's see here, I don't even know what this is called. My wife's sister, who I'm very good friends with, had a health
Sister-in-law. Okay.
sister-in-law. Yes, so simple in English, sister-in-law. I, tons of people. I think I even had a small health scare, like, potentially cancer and stuff like that.
Oh well.
Turned out that everyone's fine. It wasn't. It was literally just a scare. But I really just got down. I was really like, "Fuck this shit. I'm out." And the last thing I thought about was doing videos. So I started making some terrain for Mordheim, these townhouses. And then before I knew it, because I was also trying out this new technique using, foam core and different ways to texture them, and balsa wood. That seemed cool. Let's buy some of balsa wood. Again, all of the money that I get in goes directly to buying, more terrain stuff. So or hobby stuff. So before I knew it, I had, I think, built, was it 6 or 7? No, perhaps it was, no, sorry, it was nine
Oh,
buildings,
all right.
all in all. Or sorry, 8 buildings, and I think the ninth building was the one I actually decided to make a video of, and then sort of, yeah. So I built a freaking ton of these. I think I'm gonna do a Mordheim board, because I've always wanted to do that ever since, you know, Mordheim and you know came back into my life, so to speak, from an interest point of view. So yeah, I do enjoy these buildings. We have still not yet played with them, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this will turn out to play with. Because I again, a game developer, and this is something perhaps not a lot of people know about, but game development generally is very gridded when it comes to the game world and stuff like that. So it's essentially grids or pixels or whatever you want to call it, measurements, set measurements, and all of these buildings, I know, for instance, each floor is 2 inches, period. Which, when we play at our friendly local game store, have all kinds of terrain that we pick together and then make a board of. Sometimes we end up in situations like, shit, that weird stone or warp stone is on the third floor of that building, or sorry, on the second floor of that building, but the second floor is 8 inches up. and nobody has scale share surface. So nobody can get that fucking thing. Shit.
Yeah.
So this is the sort of thing I thought about a lot, like when it came to measurements. Like, it's a human city. 2 inches is about right. So I've thought about those sort of elements a lot more. And I want to really, in this board and in these buildings, I want to really increase the verticality a lot.
Yeah, that's a really important factor for more time.
I think so. I mean, I think so from a theoretical point of view, but I have yet to actually play it properly.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to it one day.
No, from past experience, three of the most amusing parts of the game are shooting people off tall buildings,
Yes.
knocking people off tall buildings,
Mhm.
or doing a diving charge from the highest place you can find. That's
Oh, yeah, I had I have to tell you a war story about that now,
yeah,
because we
shoot.
we've played Mordheim, right? And I'm sorry, Anders, if you're seeing this, but yeah, so my friend Anders, he went with undead, and we all knew that the vampire kicks ass. Like, it's individually the most powerful unit in Mordheim, it felt like. And so I was facing off against him using my Reichlanders, yeah, from Reichland, and they had a German accent. I RP the shit out of this every once in a while, and it's also funny because we're all friends. So he like asked, what does your Reichlander sound like? And they sound like miniature Germans essentially. So yeah, let's go. Yep, yep, yep. I don't know why. Anyways, he does the diving charge. His vampire, gets up one floor above, and I'm just like, shit, he's gonna get my leader. He's gonna kill my leader. He's like, and I get +1 in weapon skill. Yeah, yeah. And his initiative is like 5. So literally on a D6, the only thing he shouldn't roll is a 6.
Yeah,
He rolls a 6. So it all sort of played out so brilliantly in my head. And instead of it being, Bram Stoker's Dracula coming to haunt you, it turned out it was Leslie Nielsen's Dracula. So he sort of got up on, this ledge and like, ha! And I was like, oh shit, it's your turn next. Yes. And then, ha! Boom. And I just saw him like in my mind's eye doing, nosedive straight into the floor, and of course he died from that. So he sort of got fired, and poor Anders, because he had so unlucky, and his necromancer, I sort of shot him with my ranklanders, and it was just we'll see, long distance, he had cover, all of that. Of course I hit him, and of course he got stunned, and we both remembered, shit, wasn't there rules against? Yes, there were. And he was at a super tall building, so he fell down to his death. And I think he actually met the true death. So I do love those height
yep.
things, but I tend to have hook and ladder, or sorry, not hook and ladder, rope and hook, and scale share surface is a
Yeah,
dear friend of mine,
that's
for
important.
sure.
That's occupational health and safety.
Yes, exactly. Oh, but yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to playing Mordheim using this terrain. I think I'm also that's definitely gonna be a video, because I know a lot of people have asked like, oh, I wish I could see the board, and it's gonna come once I'm done with everything.
Yeah, I would love to visit. Question here. I think yes, certain Brick mentioned. Are those Lego windows?
Yes, they
Yeah.
are. Yes. Oh yeah. I just remembered that I actually have a comment to answer, because somebody asked me where I get the Lego windows. There is, and here I have to actually say, so way back when, I painted about 70 minis for a friend of mine for his Space Hulk. That dude's name is Niklas, and he does insane Lego builds, like
Alright.
insane. I think he did Zelda 2, the map, in Lego. huge. We are still trying to get him to actually cast it in resin and make an actual table out of it, but it's huge. He did the entire map. So I knew if I wanted Lego parts, he would be the person to ask. And there is actually a site. I don't remember what it is now, but perhaps we can. I think, yeah, Bricklink, that's the site. I'm looking it up now.
Okay.
I'll reply it. For Lego parts.
Okay, just 1 second, because I don't think you. I'm not
Can
sure
I
if you.
do that, or will it go like?
I'll set you to a moderator or something so that you can do that. Let me
Okay.
just find you.
Do you see the message? Zelda 2 is it's, yeah. But I have to say, Earthman Brick, Zelda 2, I did, as a young little bastard, I loved the fact that you could switch between two views, because it was one of the first games that I remember doing that. And I did not manage to complete it, but I loved it.
Okay, you should be able to paste links now.
Okay, so I'll try to do this again in case it didn't. Kaboom. For Lego parts. Parts. For Lego parts. Did it pop up now?
See. No,
Bricklinks.com.
still can't see it, but I can find it and
Okay.
paste it. So, bricklinks.com, yeah?
Bricklink.com. So the cool thing about that is that you essentially you try to find out which Lego piece you want.
All right.
You make a profile, try to find out which Lego piece you want, and then you see like a bunch of resellers, and it could be anything from like the US to Germany to anywhere. Try to find something locally that makes sense, and then you basically buy, like I did, like 500 of them, because then I will never need. And I'm not kidding when I say I bought like 250 or something of them. Exactly. Thank you, Lawrence. Bricklink. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
really cool, because I mean, a bunch of Lego parts. Yeah, you could make some really useful stuff out of that.
Definitely. And I'm sure there's more. Like, I only found 2 windows so far that sort of fits the bill for me, but I'm sure that there's plenty more. So Tina, you're asking if I ever will go to Hamburg Tactica. Since we're being very transparent and honest here, I have never been to any sort of tabletop or gaming convention unless it's been with my job. I want to go to a bunch of conventions. It would be awesome to go down to Hamburg Tactica without knowing what it is, but it sounds awesome. I mean, here's the thing: Germans are bloody good with their board games. Like, there's even a category called German board games, right? And to me, at least, I perceive it as, it's not for the faint of heart. It's hardcore stuff. Like, I've seen, what was it, Advanced Squad Leader, which is insane. It like binders of rules.
Yep.
I've played it like 1.5 times, and I got my ass kicked so bad, but I got so fascinated by just the amount of rules, and like, it's cool stuff. That's the sort of thing that I like to say fills up my sort of motivational meter or whatever. It's like, oh, this is cool. You have those days when you just want to see that old film that you saw,
Yep.
because you just want to fill up the tank with like good feelings or mojo or whatever it is. And being in conventions and around nerds, and I say that with love, fills that up for me. Like, I've been on some few. Like, I met Sean Astin, Samwise,
All
my
right.
favorite character, in the sci-fi convention in Sweden. But it's not like gaming; it's more like resellers, and then like some
Yeah, I get you.
celebrity comes there. But just being in that atmosphere, really, like, oh, I love it. I don't know what it is. It's just. I'm going to sound super corny now, but I guess it's like if it's every time I go to the friendly local game store, Alpha Spel, I feel like it's my second home away from home, you know? It's like, it's good. Like there's even, you know, when you have a bad day at work, I can sometimes go, I'm going to go to my friendly local game store for the lunch hour just to charge the batteries. I'm not
Yeah,
going to buy anything. I mean, I probably will end up buying something, but I'm mostly there just to breathe in that nerdy air.
yeah, and I especially love the way that as soon as you get more than a few of us communicating, these spectacular but bad ideas start popping up like poof, 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 poof.
Yeah. And that's the thing with me also. I think I'm not sure if I'm not going to say that I'm special. Hell no. But it seems somewhat rare in nerdy communities to be somewhat extroverted, and I mean, I might seem super extroverted, but I'm according to tests, I'm only 18% extroverted, so I'm sort of close to the borderline there. But I think I feel some sort of kinship with all, or with most people in some way. I don't know why. I i I never have had a hard time saying, "Hey, how you doing? How are you? What are you about? You know, what's your thing?" I'm not very Swedish in that sense, to be honest.
Yeah, that's interesting. I find it very hard to start up conversations with people unless we have something in common to talk about,
Yes.
which is
Well,
why I find it easier to talk to people in this sphere.
yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Yeah, I mean, what is it called? Cold talking? No, not cold
Uh,
talking. Talk. That's a Swedish version. Uh,
I know about cold reading, but I don't think it's the
yeah,
same
except
thing.
that's not what I'm saying. It's like, you know, when you're talking about weather, chit chatting,
Yeah,
you know,
small talk.
kall small talk. Thank you. In Swedish, it's called kallprata. So it's like, which literally means cold talking. Um, yeah, I'm not big with that. Like that's when you'll get a reply. But for some reason, I like going like, "Hey, my name's Leif. What do you love?" Or not as direct as that, but I love to quite quickly get into the more cool shit about you, or the cool shit about people, you know, because I
Yeah.
do believe that most people have something they're passionate about,
Oh yeah, for sure.
um, i.e., they're nerds in some area.
Okay, let's see. Lawrence Davis says, I'm going to a historical miniature convention in 2 weeks. Take photos.
Yes, definitely.
And I like going to conventions not just for the games, but to hang out and see friends that is only feasible to see at the conventions due to distance.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
definitely. Hmm. You're Swedish, so not extroverted. Yes. I don't know why I went Sean Connery, but Swedish. Yes. I don't know. I also think, like, if you're a dungeon master, you sort of have to force yourself to be at least pretend to be somewhat social, you know,
Uh,
or semi extroverted. I don't know. Yeah, so we needed a new printer at my house. So I was like, why don't we just buy a color printer?
all right.
I've done some Photoshop. I can do posters. That's how all of this sort of started. I was like, hey, I need some, you know, billboards or something, you know,
Hmm.
that would be cool. And yeah, there there's some stories behind some of these wanted posters. Let me
Yeah,
just
I
say.
imagine so because I can see one of them is the devs&dice flyer, which is like
Hmm.
subscribe and stuff. But then
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw this
yeah.
one, Eric the Ignorant, and that's like that sounds like the most fascinating story waiting to happen.
Okay, I'm sure he won't see this. In my professional career, um oh shit. Carl, you're killing me, but okay, screw it. Uh I usually say that I'm sort of, you know, when people try to sort of like ask me to explain who I am, nowadays I sort of say, well, I'm a slightly smarter Ned Stark. it's super important for me, to be honest. Like it is really important for me because I need to be able to look myself in the mirror and go, you're okay. You know, I'm fine with you. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm very hard on myself. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this as a prelude to why, since you asked me, I'm going to have to tell you a story. I've had in my professional game development career, you know, interactions with people that have been less good. I've, for instance, had, let's say, interactions with people where I, you know, try to explain how a system works for them about, you know, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 times.
Okay.
And they don't seem to want to understand, but they need to understand. You know, they might have been my boss at the time, and, you know, I might take out my revenge through art. So yeah, Eric
Yeah,
the
fair enough.
Ignorant. You know who you are.
It's the Michelangelo thing where you paint the associates on someone. Yeah, it's like yeah,
Sort of.
there's a
And
tradition for that.
just so we are clear, this person knows it. We've had a face-to-face conversation, so I'm not being a coward about this. I'm just, I needed some name, and I was like, well, I'll take that name. Why not?
Yeah, just letting. It's one way of letting off steam.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, no, so I do have some of my I have two of my nemesis that I have in this life. I'm making it sound more dramatic than it really is, but they're also, you know, in the posters, but somewhere behind there. I don't know. It
You,
might not be here on this one actually. And then some I because I like Beware of Ratman, that
huh?
I stole like blatantly. Like there are posters out there, and that's the reason why, because people have asked me like, oh, can you give me the posters? Well, the shitty thing is I just had inspiration and just went haywire. I was like, oh, made a Photoshop template and just, you know, copy pasted in lots of art. And I didn't have a single thought about copyright and stuff.
Of course.
So I can't, in goodwill, even if I would give this away for free, which was almost my intention, I can't really use someone else's art. So somebody painted, you know, Eric the Ignorant or Beware the Ratman, I think is an actual poster that somebody else did. And I just copied it into my Photoshop document and you know, so I will at some point do my own take on it, which is copyright good and give it out to the people.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that's one thing we always need to watch out for.
sorry,
Even if it's an illegal thing, it's out of respect to the people who make things.
exactly. Uh, slightly smarter than Ned Stark. I would never in a million years say that I'm slightly smarter than Tony Stark. I literally had this conversation with my son the other day. Spoilers, because we started watching the first of the new Tom Holland Spider-Man movies,
All right.
and I'm trying. Such an asshole dad, but I'm of course oh, this is Tony Stark. Do you know who he is? Like, yeah, yeah. And then I'm like, you know, he's like in the universe of Marvel, he's like super intelligent. Like he could invent these things. Like, whoa. So no, I'm definitely not. I wish I had half of Tony Stark's intelligence or a tenth. Then I think, yeah, no, Ned Stark, uh,
Yeah,
slightly smarter than Ned Stark.
that's a more achievable benchmark for us humans.
I would say so. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, coming up, Revert. I love the color on these.
Yeah. So this came also from a sort of, I'll be honest, from a place where I was like, shit, I don't want to do resin pours because resin is freaking expensive in Sweden. I don't want to have, don't want to build high banks
Mm-hmm.
like I've seen others do. And then like, because the problem, it's a fundamental problem, right? With if you have a river, usually,
It's under the ground level, yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, at least in Sweden, when you have a river, you know, it slopes down and water is gathered in here, and you know, it creates a river. So I sort of thought about, what if I make them flat and shit paint depth instead, you know? What if that would work? And it turns out it works just fine. I thought so at least. And yeah, the painting was super easy. Not very complicated at all.
Was that also airbrushed? Because it looks
Yes.
really smooth.
Yeah, it is airbrushed, which I have to say, I mean, I'm not going to say I wish I didn't airbrush it because I did it and it looks okay, but I do think that it might look a little bit too smooth. And if I were to give myself a little bit more critique, I would say that it looks way too bright, and I should have tried to get that transparent look more. But heck, when I put these on the table, everyone's like, "Yeah, that's a river. That is, you know,
I mean,
it's okay."
the way I look at it is this kind of a fantasy river, not a actual river. I think that color is fantastic for it.
Yeah.
Hey, Mini Mason, how you doing, man? Yeah, definitely.
Hello.
And so, is it card or some kind of plastic sheet, or what do you use?
Yeah, it's I actually used plastic card.
All right.
So it's like 1 millimeter plastic card, and this was from Green Stuff World, but it I guess any plastic card would do. That was what my friendly local game store had
Nice.
in stock. So it was a theory that I was playing around with, and I think it worked out somewhat good. And storage wise, they're super, flat.
Yeah, I mean, of
So
course, if they're flat, it's going to save so much trouble.
yeah, exactly. And they don't
Oh,
break.
sorry. Ah,
No,
yeah.
no worries.
You're saying they don't break?
They're very flexible still, so they don't break
All right.
easily or anything like
Yeah, of
that.
course, because it's just plastic card and paint. Yeah. If you have a resin pour, it's going to be heavier, and if you drop it,
Exactly.
ouch.
And I think it's like I did some Mod Podge and stuff and some Vallejo water to get some waves and ripples in it, but
All
it's
right.
still acrylics, so it's somewhat flexible, which is good.
It looks magnificent.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh yes,
Oh, that's a
this
lot of bricks.
one's this is nothing.
No?
No, Carl, my man. This is nothing compared to the board that I'm working on now. You know that I actually did some math for the board that
Okay.
I'm working on now. And I mean, this is roughly, but I'm well over 50,000 bricks. And this is spoiling the video a little bit, but I honestly, and I'm not kidding here, doing this over a table, because I don't sit in a large space. So I had to, stretch out. It almost killed my elbow and my
Yeah,
arm. So
yeah, I can
I
totally believe
had
you.
to I had to even come up, or actually one of my patrons actually helped me come up with an alternate way of making bricks, which hopefully I'll show in the video. It's not sort of super revolutionary. It's nothing. It's not oh, it's the new wheel. It's more round than before. But it helped when it came to that. But yeah, now this was actually my first collaboration with Highland Miniatures.
Okay.
And I think he wanted just to show off the Sunderland Knights, but we both felt like, no, let's do some terrain. And I was just like, hey, everyone seems to do like those sort of Gothic ruins. I want to do that. I need ruins. So I just built them out of foam core. And then I don't know. I don't see a lot of people doing this. Probably there. And by the way, you see that's the same background that as I
Yeah, I was going to
used
ask
for
about
my
from the
yeah,
cottage log house. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And what I tend to do, because my brick size, I think I've, at least in my book, I've perfected my brick size. It's 5 millimeters times 10 millimeters times 5 millimeters. For me, that's perfect. But what I do when I do these sort of buildings, because it's the same thing that I've done with the tower and all of these buildings, I split them in half, and I purposely split them manually in half because I'm not precise.
You got the
because that
imperfections, yeah.
exactly imperfections, which gives the illusion of, oh, here the mason just thought, oh, lunch is soon, and just stuck it in all crooked and wrong. And then you get all of these nice stories and nice textures that you can play around with. So
Hmm?
for these are simple builds, and if I did them today, I would probably do something different. But I loved the variation in the textures and the bricking. Turned out pretty good. I'm happy with them. I love, and also I painted all of the models for this specific, which was, I have to say, I really love the Sunland troops, painting those, because it's like 99% armor. All right, cool. So focus on the bloody face. And then how do I make armor interesting? And I don't know if you can zoom in on the closest
Let
sort
me
of
try.
horse. Zoom in on the horse ass, please.
This the one on the the one
The
on
one,
the left, yeah.
yes. I wish to see the horse's buttocks in a closer. If this is sounding all kinds of weird, but believe me,
That's right.
there's reason to this.
Let us
So
enlarge the horse's buttocks. Oh, I see
yes.
scratches.
Oh, this is Blade Runner. This is Blade Runner. Enhanced horse's ass, 35 to 64. Yeah, exactly. So sorry. What I did here was quite interesting, actually, and I think I stole this, or got inspired by Ninjon. I want to say that he had some video at some point. He's a painter that I really love.
Yeah, it's
I love
another
his
channel that I
style.
follow. Great work.
Yeah, super good. And I think he had, I can't remember, because he has these funny names for all of his brushes and stuff, but he had one brush where he basically has cut off all of the hair
Hmm?
except like 4 or 5 strands. And I was like, well, that would be interesting to make some sort of texture on that can only be seen like as the reflection, or as the light hits the reflection. So even though it was, oh, it's just metal, just paint it with a bolt gun metal or whatever, I went into it and tried to make lots of scratches and all of these things and variations. So what you perhaps won't see is that there are actually some subtle variations, which I used inks and stuff
All
to
right.
achieve that, and mixed it into the metals, and airbrushing afterwards, sort of to create slight variations, plus these scratches and
All right.
doos.
That's sort of thinking behind a horse butt. But
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, somebody else is doing the same brick size. Good on you, Mini Mason. Hoo-ha.
Okay, next
I
up
don't
we
know
have
why I went.
some.
Oh yeah. So yeah, okay. The most disgusting mini I've ever painted, but also really what should be in focus here is actually the terrain. This was from, and I'm totally blanking on their name. I want to say Archon Studios.
Mhm.
Archon Studio, yeah. Uh, so they sent, literally, like I said in the intro, I just got rid of my terrain, like I mentioned. I think I mentioned in the intro there
Mhm.
that I got rid of all my old, and then I got a terrainogram from Archon. Uh, that's also so weird. I watched Blazing Saddles, which today is not a very PC film,
It's
but
still a
like all,
magnificent film.
it's awesome, and I love the satire, and I think it's still relevant, and but anyways, in there they have the sort of candygram for Mongo, the whole Looney Tunes skit sort of, and I was watching that, and all of a sudden I was like, well, Leif, don't make it more complicated than this terrainogram from Archon. All right, and there was the intro, literally the same day. um yeah, here, so the artist, and I found out this after the fact. I saw the box art and I was like, shit, that looks good. That's not gray, terrain tiles. So I tried to mimic and analyze the box art using what I knew about, color theory and mixing and whatnot. Turns out I followed, the artist who actually painted the box art,
All
and
right.
he followed me, and I've actually spoken to him. Super nice guy and super talented. If I had known that before, I would have never tried it. But
Who had painted this originally?
well, oh god, I can't remember. I can't remember, but I won't even try to. Kuba Sawicki,
All right.
I think. Kuba Sawicki. I hope. Yes, Kuba Sawicki. Oh God, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I'm sorry. Can I post his thing? Uh,
Uh,
what do you call it? His link to his Instagram.
I'm not sure it will come up, but if you send it to me on Discord, I'll pick it up and
Okay,
copy it
cool.
over.
All right. I think it came out, but yeah. So
Yeah, okay, I see it,
this
I see
dude,
it.
yeah. So awesome, good. Like he is. When I say good, like his stuff, it's so good it hurts. Let's just put it that way. In terms of miniature painting and stuff, but and also terrain. But anyways, he reached out and was like, yeah, you almost got it right. You guessed some stuff wrong and some, but yours was definitely, it looks very good and you nailed the OSL. It's like, holy shit. Didn't know. I mean, can you imagine, like, imagine, I don't know, doing a skit with Arnold, like, hi, how are you? And then Arnold reaching out to you and going like, you know what, that was pretty good, but I don't pronounce it like that, Yeah, that's sort of what I felt like. I was like, oh shit. Uh, but it was cool, and Archon Studios really loved the result, and they were super nice to work with. And I really loved painting it because it felt like it was a different kind of challenge, to try to more play a creative detective, I guess. Trying to use your knowledge to deconstruct something, and I was happy with the result.
And in the end, you got a great looking piece of terrain as well.
Yes, exactly, which was very nice. I'm now a moderator.
Okay. By the way, I love the gloss on the eyes on the beholder.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't think I've ever gonna like. With NMM and
Hmm?
stuff, the whole thing there is that you're supposed to paint all of the reflections, all of the highlights, all of the shadows. But when it comes to eyes and specifically the ease of just like put some bloody gloss varnish on it, that's something I'm never gonna abandon, because it is so easy
Yeah, I mean,
to
it's part of if you just want to put it on the table.
yeah, exactly. Now, but that's one of my bet. I've actually used this against my players as well. They almost shat their pants, like, because I think they were level 4 or something. And the first thing you see is of course a beholder, and then 10 eye stalks, and they're like, oh shit, a beholder, oh my god. Everyone is story, and I always get this wrong. I can't remember if it's a zombie beholder or a beholder zombie, but anyways, I think it's a beholder zombie. Whatever. Zombie beholder zombie. It's not nearly the same CR rating, because I think only 4 of its eye stalks actually work
No
or
idea, I'm not
whatever.
really
But
familiar with it.
well, do you know beholders in general,
Oh,
like
there's in
what they
general, yeah, of
are?
course, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, I love the fact that beholders, to me, it feels like, if you would have the love child between H.P. Lovecraft and a designer who loved rules, it would be a beholder. Because it's essentially aberration, but it's really just vomiting out the system of D&D onto players, because not even the dungeon master knows what eye ray will happen, on what target. So it's really, up to the system, and let's see what happens. And I love beholders in that sense, to be honest.
Awesome. Okay, next up. Okay, I remember this tower.
Right. So you want to talk about lighting? Lighting? Yeah, lighting.
Yes, please talk about
Um,
lighting.
yeah. So this bastard is backlit with a simple LED light that I bought from Amazon. And I would argue, even though, I mean, I'm happy with the build, I think it looks bloody good. And again, my goal with this build was that no one would see that it was a bloody Pringles can.
Mm. Mm.
And the funny thing is, you can't really see it when you look at these photos, but proportionally, it's a lot bigger than a Pringles can.
If I remember correctly, you had gutted the can and expanded it, yeah? Yeah.
Exactly. And I expanded, sort of put in these sort of, what do you call it? Hard paper sort of, things, so I could sort of support it until I
Yes,
had
yes.
glued it around until it sort of held up itself. But here you can see, again, going back to contrast here
Mm-hmm.
with color temperature. If you look at the front of the building, blue, shingles are fairly apparent. You can see, some green, brownish, and then you have that warm orange light that could almost be a morning sun or something coming through, right? Contrast.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think if someone here knows lighting, please tell us a little bit more. But yeah, cardboard. Thank you, cardboard. But I think this is called a kick light or a ring light. No, rim light, I think it's called.
Okay.
So it's essentially if you want to accentuate the profile of whatever you are shooting. So I can actually do a very good sort of, or silhouette. You want to accentuate the silhouette. So imagine me, if you look at me doing this. So just having that, you see the silhouette of me. And that's essentially what I've done with this, except, of course, I had another, light up front.
Yeah, I think it's important in this case because against dark background, the edges would have been lost a little, and that dash of red adds a lot of what do you call it? Oomph.
Yeah, exactly. And I think at the same time, a white background would have
Would have
felt like
spoiled the mood here.
exactly, right? We would have
Yeah.
felt like we were in a laboratory and it's like, yeah, let's look at this Mortime building. Yeah. I don't know why all of my laboratories come from Germany, but what can I say? Sigmar is dead.
I also see got a lot more of those posters here and stuff.
Yeah, and lots of different, I guess, graffiti
Graffiti,
or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah, and I actually had someone comment, and it was a very well-meaned, that didn't come out right. The person meant well, but he
Uh-huh.
sort of asked me, "Hey, are you part of a sort of racist white supremacy?" Because apparently one of the Skaven symbols that I had used, apparently some Nazi, I don't know what, had used also in their campaign or something. I was like, no, God, I've literally looked for Skaven symbols and chaos symbols in the Warhammer lore, and that's where I got it from. And I even sent like exactly this picture online. So it's sometimes I mean, it's really unfortunate, but that really scared me a little bit. Not so much that, oh no, I won't be popular on YouTube anymore. I can, that doesn't matter, but I don't want to insult someone needlessly, if you
Yeah,
know what I
exactly.
mean, because I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone. But yeah, I try to get as much of a Warhammer fantasy sort of lore, and I have different sort of images with, and I think, shit, I can't remember which one it is. Is it Singe or the bottom right? You see the three balls and the three
Nergal.
thingamathing.
Nergal.
Nurgle.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You can see that I'm not very good with the symbols. I just sort of, yep, that's the one. I'm gonna pick that one. Because literally when I draw it, I don't think about anything more than somebody from this cult or whatever was here. somebody felt like, screw this, I'm having a boring time, Sigmar is dead. Yep, okay, cool. But I do love it because it does give it that extra little flavor.
It does, yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like, and it feels like it's not, and that's also actually shit. We have one big thing that I really want to talk about when it comes to Mordheim terrain. If I may talk about this,
Please.
this is a personal. I'm not sure if I say this correctly, pet peeve of mine, but it's something I'm very passionate about.
A pet
And
peeve is something that annoys you, but I think this sounds like more like
okay,
your personal cause kind of thing.
it, okay, pet peeve slash personal, because it's a little bit of both.
All right.
Personally, I really, when it comes to, okay, I'm going to sound like such an asshole now. When it comes to Mordheim terrain, personally, I really dislike it when buildings are just site blockers.
Yes.
I want to be able to go into them. I want to be able to, because, and I think part of this is because that was the fear and anxiety I had when starting to build Mordheim buildings. Because in the video, when I go through it, like, oh, I didn't know what to do. That wasn't fake. That wasn't me, trying to make drama wherever it
No, no,
wasn't
I
any.
agree with you. It's hard to design them.
It's super hard because you have to think about both the outside and the inside, and you have to make it look good on both those
Yeah,
places. And for
totally.
me, and also, like, how do I destroy it so it makes sense, so I can come in there with my big chubby hand and put a mini there. But for me personally, I really dislike when terrain is just site blockers. And I know my good friend in my gaming group, Eric, he's a level artist, a very
Hmm?
skilled one, and he and me have had discussions about this because it's such a cliche in video game development that, of course, the designer asshole wants everything to be interactable, and you should be able to go inside a building, whereas the level artist like just like, no, it needs to be pretty. I want it to be pretty. Stop it. I say this with love. But for me, on my board, every building must be able to have both a profile, covers, and be played from the inside.
Yeah, to be honest, Mordheim is one of the few games I will do that for.
Yeah,
Because anything else, I'm okay with just. Okay, this regiment of 40 people is has reached the building. I'm just going to take the regiment off the table, and they are now in
yeah,
the building. I'm not going to replace them in the building.
exactly. And I'm really talking specifically about Mordheim. Like
Mm.
when it comes to D&D and stuff like that. I mean, you've seen my D&D buildings. Whoop,
Yeah, of course.
all of the walls comes off. The only thing that's left is a floor. So yeah, for me it's specifically in Mordheim. And I don't know. I mean, to me, I just feel like, what's the point of it? Or I'm not going to say what's the point of it. Like, if you make like a huge tower and it's like, yeah, it's a tower, it blocks stuff. That's good. But with a little bit more, especially for Mordheim, since stuff is supposed to be destroyed, you can get so much more.
Oh yeah,
And
totally.
that's sort of what I wanted to do with this one. And thank you, Tina. I do love to do dialects. Um,
You are very good at them.
well, we have an expression in
Hmm?
Swedish, which my mom has always said that I am a little bit like. And you remember, sort of circling back to my purpose is to entertain. I am what is in Swedish lovingly called a theater monkey, uh, goofball or
All right.
whatever. So I mean, I don't know why think dialects is like, I'm generally interested in dialects, you know, even Swedish, or like, when I listened to you, I was like, holy shit, that's how people sound like when they're from Malta. Okay, it's a little bit, I don't even, I can't even help it, but I start to sort of analyze it and start to remember, and I'm like, okay, it's almost, it's so weird, but it's almost like if somebody put a gun to my head and I had to imitate Karl now, otherwise I'll die. Because I sort of just put stuff, you know, I memorize stuff, how people sound like, and I don't do a good job of it, but it's like
It's still
actors,
good fun.
stuff like that. I think so. And I think it's also, for me, it's another way you can put flavor as a dungeon master to your, campaign, when with your NPCs, because people do remember, the more colorful NPCs.
Oh
I
yeah, for
feel
sure.
like, at least. Yeah.
And it's fun as a player too as well. Putting on an accent, just literally playing a role, seriously playing a role.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I mean, we've had some fun times. One of my favorite ones was
Mm-hmm.
when my friend was playing a hut.
A hut from Star
And
Wars.
yeah, so he's like, oh, mutaraka, mutare. And I was like, do you know what you're saying? No idea. He just literally just said words, but "Unatika solo," and then, oh, you said solo, and it just, but it's cool because we're
Oh
all,
yeah,
I think when you get to that point when you're comfortable looking like an ass in front of your friends, that's a good place to be, because then you know that we're all having fun. This is not serious.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, fun.
This
Fun is kind of the point. It's a few people forget that it's terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so this one was, I think, my first big build.
Hmm.
Instantly I see something I hate.
Go on. Yeah.
Well, I hate the big bricks, because this is one of the cases where I didn't use the 5 millimeter big bricks, when I used a little bit larger, and I instantly think it looks like, bloody marshmallows or something.
That's not
But
that bad.
this yeah, this one was good fun. I think this one was my first, like, really big build in terms of buildings. And I have to say, thanks to Dave for the idea of the shit shoot. Because
Oh yeah, I
you
remember
see,
that in the video. Yeah.
yeah, the elven ranger there, he's standing, he's guarding the shit house there. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I see the drain pipe going all the way down.
exactly.
Let me see if I can zoom that in. When I was watching this video way back, I think that's one of the details that I remember from that video. Because like, oh yeah, I never put that in buildings.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, because I think I got that sort of square, whatever it's called, the pipes. I got that from Nicholas, the guy who I painted all of the Space Hulk minis from, because he's like, here's some stuff. I thought I was going to use it, but I didn't. Here.
All right.
And I was like, well, I wonder if I can use this. And I sort of started designing. First, I think it was a drain pipe, and I was like, shit shoot. Of course. Of course, it's a shit shoot. It needs to be disgusting. And there's even a rat there at the end who's
Yeah.
at the ground. So it's those little details that can just, elevate, I think, if nothing else, for yourself, your terrain pieces.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's
It's a little bit more
again
fun.
just putting in those little jokes in there, and I especially love it when people find them.
Yeah,
That
exactly. And I mean, here's the thing also, because I think I even brought this up in the video, but the shit shoot is a brilliant idea, because then you can start to, like, okay, the players need to get into this place. Of course, they can bust in the door and, attack the darkness. Or I wonder if the halfling could climb the shit shoot. And I mean, imagine the stakes that are online, or because not only do you have a fun moment where, oh, we have a halfling thief there, he's literally climbing a shit chute, but you see that it's been fixed here and there.
yeah.
I wonder how much weight that shit chute can take. I wonder if shit will start to seep through. How does it smell there? All of these ideas start to, exactly, And then you can, start threatening your
You're
player with,
halfling, yeah.
exactly, if you don't roll, a 20 now, you might get, a nasty surprise.
Oh dear.
Those sort of things that I at least enjoy when it comes to the storytelling aspects of it.
Yeah, one of the things I find is that when you're playing with details like this, sometimes ideas suggest themselves.
Exactly. Well, that's usually when ideas are good. When I usually say this, like creatively, when you explain a system or something to people and they start to spin off of that, that's when you know that an idea is good, because
All
it's
right.
it just, it snowballs, and it's like, oh, and then we can do, oh, and then we, oh, and then, it's like, yes,
Yep.
then you found something good.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Boom.
Yeah,
Oh man.
big crystals. Yeah, so these literally, I just realized, I think at this time I was listening to the Dristordan trilogy, Dark Elf. Was that what it was called? The first trilogy?
Ari Salvatore's. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it was the Darkest trilogy.
yeah. Because a friend of mine said that, because actually I'm not very, like, I'm not an old school D&D player. I've played RPGs my entire life, but actually started in 5th edition. So I don't automatically, know the
Absorb.
Forgotten
You don't. Yeah,
Realms.
absorb all the lore and stuff.
Exactly. So for me, and since there isn't any good campaign book out now, as far as I know, I started listening to that, and then I realized, shit, I have nothing for the Underdark. And it spoke of crystals, and I was like, well, I've always wanted to paint crystals. Wonder what crystals look like. And then I started analyzing that. And the thing is, though, this came from a former patron of mine,
Hmm.
who wanted, he asked, like, does anyone have any, Underdark terrain or any know of anything? And his name is Brent, and he's been, a good supporter of mine and commented for the longest time. And I sent messages with him back and forth. So I sort of felt like, screw it. I know it's to the US and it's going to be a long bloody travel and it's going to cost, but I'm going to I made double batch of
All right.
crystals. And I sent them over to him. So it sort of started with that, and then I was like, okay, I'll do crystals. That seems somewhat easy and cool. Plus I could learn how to paint crystals also.
Yeah, I love the depth that you got on them. It's like I know that's just paint, but it does show a lot of depth on them.
Yeah, I mean it is quite cool what you can do with just a little bit of paint and some imagination. I mean, that's the thing you have to think about when it comes to anything you do when it comes to painting, I would say. We humans are super good at recognizing when something looks wrong, but we're equally, well, there's two sides to this. Either I can say that we're equally stupid, or I could say our imagination is very good with filling in the gaps. And the clearest example I have of this is, Jaws. Best horror movie ever,
All
almost.
right.
For 45 minutes, Steven Spielberg makes us afraid of a camera underneath the water that's playing some weird music.
Mm.
But your mind is filling in the gaps. And it's the same thing with our eyes, because if you really start to think about it, there's so much that looks wrong, but it's good enough for us to make it work, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely more than good enough, and I think the effect when you have a group of things.
Yeah,
If it was just one
exactly.
crystal on its own, maybe I don't know, some more details might spring up when you have a table full.
Yeah, exactly. Now, and that's exactly, and that is so important, like the context of it, the environment of it. How does it, read? If it is good enough, then you will buy into it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
No, that's a very good point. Actually, the environment and context really matters a whole lot. Thanks, Tina.
Okay, so I think that's the last one of of the photos that you sent in.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so we've been here for 2 hours
Too
and
long.
20 minutes.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
No. I've been loving the conversation.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so if you have some more time, maybe we can look at the pictures that the people in the chat posted.
Yeah,
All right,
that would be awesome.
shall we do that? Okay, let's jump in there.
Yes.
Okay, and
Oh
okay.
god. God damn you, Lawrence. Thing I can't disclose why, but I can tell you this much. At work, at some point, there was a discussion about something that there is actually an actual phobia. I can't remember what
A
it
phobia
is.
of holes, yeah, I think, or
Yes.
something. Yeah, I heard about it. I can't remember
And
the name.
yeah, exactly. And I actually, I'm not saying that I suffer from it super much, but when I think about it, creeps me out.
All right.
Can you zoom in a little bit? Or
I don't think I can zoom further than this in this case.
okay, if you open original, perhaps it'll.
1 second, I'll just open it and import it into the into OBS.
Okay, cool. But I mean, I think I've seen parts of this, and this looks disgusting. Like this looks like a nightmare scene to me, which is
Okay, hang on a second. I'm just going to bring it up.
yes, cool.
Bear with me.
No worries.
Okay,
Yo,
Lawrence has been working on that for quite a while
yeah.
and enjoying it by the looks of it. Let's
Try
go.
and what is it? Trypophobia? Trypophobia? Oh god, too advanced. Oh yeah, there we
Trypophobia.
go.
Okay, so which part do you want to zoom on? In?
Specifically the last one. I mean these are work in progress pics, and then the last ones were
This one?
yeah. I mean that looks amazing and disturbing. I mean it looks disgustingly. I wonder like. And I'm not giving feedback as much as I'm just giving suggestions, but at least from what I can see from the images, I'm guessing that more sort of slimy and more glossy stuff will happen. I'm not sure because it's a little bit blurry for me, but those tentacles, like tentacles, almost always need to be a little bit slimy. Are they? Actually, now I can see on the stream that they are slimy, but on the stream I'm seeing it, that you're showing me it's a little bit blurry,
Ah,
but
okay,
they
okay.
look slimy. The pods look slimy. Yeah, I mean that looks good.
Okay, and these, I think this what we're seeing right now is just the unpainted version. So
Right.
it's not even there yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean that does look. You know, sometimes you know already just looking at the shapes that this is going to be disgusting.
Yep.
This is going to be awesome, and it's sort of. And the funny thing is, I love sort of these sort of. I'm not sure if it's called body horror or creature feature sort of films.
Body
That
horror, I
that
think. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it's one of my guilty pleasures. Like I love those sort of films. Like Slither, for instance, comes to mind when I see this. If anyone hasn't seen this and want to see a slightly H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu inspired, Slither is a good. Made by James Gunn, who later became famous because of Guardians of the Galaxy and so on. So good stuff. But this reminds me of those sort of slimy tentacle monster things. So this is I hate it because I don't want to see it anymore, but I love it because it scares the shit out of me, or it creeps me the f out. It's super cool. What are you going to use? This is for a competition or something, right?
Lawrence, what's your plan for this? Are you going to use it for a game or something?
It is pretty cool.
He,
Like, and I would love to see this with some colored lighting and like properly shot and stuff, because you could make this look, really, yeah, freaking amazing, I would say. Now, there we go.
yeah, I definitely went in for this goo stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, and the thing is, what's interesting about this from a visual point of view is that there's a lot going on, but I can still read every individual part. But I
Hmm.
love the fact that controlled chaos, or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, that's a good point.
There's a lot going on yeah. I'm gonna say this in Swedish. Fy fan, which means for fuck's sakes, or something like that. Yuck. That's cool. Jesus.
I mean,
Those seed pods, oh god, and the things creeping out of them.
yeah,
I mean, it is cool.
yeah. I haven't known Lawrence for a long time, but seriously, his work has been blowing minds in here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Steve's paintbrush. Oh man.
Oh, now I only see it blurred. I sort of have to wait a little bit until it comes up on the actual stream, because there it's much more
Okay, okay.
sharper, because it's sort of a little bit blurry for me.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
the virtual
is it
camera
because
isn't
you're
very.
is it because you're sharing no, it's not because you're sharing screen.
It
Never
must be
mind.
by virtual camera settings, but it will come up in a second.
Okay. Oh god. I mean, okay, now I saw it here on the stream. That looks really good. Very grim dark. I don't even know what kind of mini this is, but I love it. It looks like, Jason Voorhees goes medieval and techno at the same time. Bloody hell.
Yeah, this is by Steve from Steve's Paintbrush. He does a lot of this grimdark stuff, but also he's a champion with textures and colors. And if you look at the pens,
Yeah.
for example, he's got a little pattern going there.
Yeah. I mean, this is I don't know what to say besides that this is really bloody good. Like, the only thing I would add to it, and this is literally just me, it's not something I necessarily would add, but it's something that I would suggest. It
Hmm.
would be fun if there's a dandelion on the ground between his legs, just as a bloody contrast. Because, but I mean, this looks amazing. To be honest, I mean, this looks pro, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely some top level work.
Yeah.
Okay, and
There we go. Oh yeah. Oh,
I think these
I
are
mean,
some kind of totems or something.
oh, that looks cool. Is this sculpted on by themselves, I guess, or
I'm not sure. Let me check because he had a message with this.
okay? Now I'm gonna see the in focus version.
Yeah, I think it's some
I mean,
kind metal minis, yeah, but so I'm not sure where he got them
I
from
mean
though.
that's so interesting, because it looks kind of disturbing, but I do enjoy the way they're painted. But
Yeah,
like, I'm talking about the sculpt now. The sculpt himself, like, it looks almost like, is this something the Blair Witch did as a sort of totem to scare people off or something?
yeah, that's the way it looks. I think he's using them for the Wield 28 miniatures game.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay,
That looks cool. Looks very good.
yeah, definitely, and this definitely fits in with that game because it's all this kind of weird, scary Blair Witch Project kind of thing, like you said.
Oh, it is. Okay, okay. Yeah, because I definitely get that sort of vibe from it.
Okay, David linked the video. I'm not sure we're going to be able to open that in here.
At Terraintronics, I focus on static
Wait a
and
minute, I
interactive
recognize
terrain,
that
and
building.
the lighting and electronics for it. So what you see here is a little cottage that I've built.
Okay, I'm not sure if the video is
Along
displaying,
view,
but
being driven by a comic castle board in this style.
Oh my god. Look at that.
so I believe this is the cottage he was mentioning that was built in your style and
Yeah.
wired up with magic and electronics and stuff.
I mean, yeah, exactly. That's the kind of thing I want to learn how to do. Bloody hell.
Okay,
That's awesome.
and this is Lawrence Davies' tribute to you.
Nice. Yeah, I hope you had a fun like I did when I did those crystals. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I think he had fun because he made quite a lot of them.
I mean, it gets sort of, very addictive after a while. It's like, yeah, what? And then you're like, what are you, an expressionist artist after a while? I mean, but it looks, that looks good, by the way. And you have multiple more colors than I did.
I think here he was going for Star Wars terrain, so he went with a wide range of colors. Yours were specifically Underdark, so I think that does limit your, not limit, but it does contain your palette a bit.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does.
Okay, here's.
But I love the broken ones as well.
Oh yeah,
nicely done.
Here's Tina making magic.
Oh god. Yeah, I mean, okay.
Yeah, she decided to build Hogwarts, so she's building Hogwarts.
I mean, I'm just thinking about now the scene. I can't remember if it's Phoenix or whatever it is when they have the tri-school competition thing.
The Goblet of Fire, I think.
Goblet of Fire, yes, thank you, exactly. And Harry is getting chased by the dragon, the Norwegian whatever thingamathing. I mean, God. Oh Lord, that's. That it's impressive when a peer just looks at it and gets slightly like tired and demoralized. It's like, oh my god, do you know what you're doing? Do you have any idea what you
got yourself into?
Yeah, I mean, but it's gonna be cool. I mean, Tina's stuff always looks cool. I mean,
oh, yeah, for sure.
And I can start to see where she's going with this. How big is this? I mean,
how big is this Tina? It's I think
a meter almost.
Yeah, I would. Let's
so far.
Let's say that the drawer is about half a meter. Then it would be I'm guessing it's just over a meter.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus. Wow. Bloody hell, Larry. That's my comment.
Okay, so this is Lisa's Baba Yaga's hut.
Baba Yaga is so. Did you see, by the way, the Witcher? Oh, spoiler, by the way, spoiler warning.
Not
there
yet,
were some.
No.
Okay, yeah, well.
Whoa! Tina just said
something.
it's. Excuse me. Tina just said it's 2.6 meter on 1.35 meter. The Hogwarts build, I mean.
Oh God.
That's a big build.
Yeah. I mean, this is the sort of thing with the whole Baba Yaga's hut. I mean, it looks creepy. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, I don't mean it as a offense, because I think that's when it succeeded. Because it's a bloody chicken-legged house with witches and
oh yeah, totally.
Come on, and hags and stuff. And I mean, hags in D&D are like
bad stuff. Yeah,
evil, like proper evil. I speak from personal experience, sort of.
Yeah, and those legs don't just look like regular tiny chicken legs.
No,
it looks like it's been lifting.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that the legs really look quite organic and fleshy, which, like, contrasting towards the hut is creepy as hell. I mean, it feels like I've gotten into a nightmare version of Alice in Wonderland, and I think that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I like this little eye up top here.
Yeah, and I'm sort of wondering, is it a painted eye or is it an actual eye? Is it seeing me right now? Those those sort of
Sorry.
thoughts pop into my mind. It's like, why is there an eye there? Uncomfortable.
Yeah, I
Cool.
mean, as a player, that would be extremely alarming.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and this is Earthman Bricks TT Combat Truck. This is just this is an MDF kit that's been really pimped up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, I'm seeing the blurred version now, but so far I
Sorry.
don't see no, it's okay. It's coming to a stream here. I think it's literally our internet. Oh, that's an MDF kit. Cool. You know what? I can honestly say that I would not have guessed that it was an MDF kit. Okay, yeah. I mean, this is good. Good use of grime and dirt and different textures and whatnot. Man, okay. That's good. Like, there's only a few tells that it's a MDF kit, but I have to say, and this is on zoomed in photos. So at the on the tabletop, it's gonna be like, forget about it. That's
That's a
not a
truck, yeah.
yeah. That's cool.
Rancor Waste Management.
I mean, this is cool stuff. This is cool stuff.
Yeah, Steve just had to throw a Star Wars reference in there.
So is what game is this for, by the way, or is this just a truck for any game regardless of what you want to use it for, or
I have no idea. I'm probably using it for Cyberpunk, I guess.
yeah,
What do
okay,
you say, Earthman Brick?
that does look cool.
Yeah, but like you said, as soon as it's on the table, yeah, that's a track. No questions.
Yeah, you know what I and this, by the way, if I'm coming up with some weird references, but the thing that it brings to my mind, even though it says Rancor, but if I ignore the blatant Star Wars reference, the thing that I read from it is aliens. I get an aliens vibe of the choices of color, of the choices of grime, and I say this in all well-meaning, because I love aliens as a style, because it's this sort of used space, grimy space.
Yeah.
And I almost can see Ellen Ripley sitting behind the wheels, trying to kill some bloody xenomorphs.
Yeah, I mean, the front definitely looks big and chunky, like you could use it to run over some aliens, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
and Earthman Brick is saying I use it for post-apocalyptic and modern settings.
yeah. Cool.
Yeah, but this dirtied up beautifully.
It is. It is.
Okay, what else?
Rancor.
Okay, so I think this is the interior.
Of the Rancor waste management
I guess so, yeah.
car. That looks cool. What happened inside there?
Okay, and
Who
this
did what?
is a sculpt that he's been working on recently. Oh, that's looking good.
Oh, I can only. Okay, let's see here. I can't see it yet. I only see the, like I said, the blurred version here, and I can only
Let's
see
give it
basic
a
shape.
second to come up then. Okay.
Here we go.
So, in the meantime, Dungeon Matron is
Oh.
saying that the Baba Yaga hat was inspired by Dungeon Miser. Here is the recent video about that.
Okay. That looks like, I don't know what kind of ghoul that is, but it's creepy as fuck. Every time you sort of extend, jaws
Yes.
or something like that, one, I sort of think instantly of Beetlejuice, but I it's creepy as heck doing that sort of things when you have the unnatural, when you have something recognizable but you
Exactly,
twist
yes.
it and you make it like unnatural. That's a good way to go, because that will creep people out,
And
if that's the point.
And it doesn't take a lot of changes too, because if you just change one feature,
Yeah,
that's already creepy as hell.
yeah, exactly. man, I want to see that one when it's done.
Yeah, I'm sure
But,
we'll see it pretty soon. Hopefully, because Steve works, Earthman Brick works pretty fast usually. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what comes out of this.
yeah, that's cool. So that's green stuff then, I guess.
Milliput,
Or
I
what
think
is it? The head
mostly.
sculptor. Milliput, of
Yeah,
course. Yes, yes. Milliput.
yeah, I love working with that stuff too.
Yeah, I've actually just started playing around with some green stuff that where I mix in a lot more of or a lot less of a blue component.
Mhm.
I think, which gives it a little bit more time. It needs more time to cure,
Yeah.
but it actually also makes it easier to sculpt with. And I just for my own personal, because we're playing when I said I had some personal experience
Mhm.
of hags. I was referring to the campaign that I'm actually a player in.
All right.
It's Curse of Strahd, and
Ooh, that's a nice one.
yeah, and you already know if I said I had a personal run-in with hags, what kind of hags I had
Yep.
run-in. Whoever who's played it. I'm a paladin, and I had a miniature. Yeah, I know, bad fucking choice, Leif.
Yes.
I mean, I had a miniature, and I had long hair, and the miniature didn't have long hair, so I actually tried to sculpt it with some green stuff, and it turned out pretty good. So I might do some more of that stuff. I was actually thinking for Mordheim. If you know the lore, there's Middenheimers. I was thinking
Yeah.
about doing some wolf pelt capes on some modern Empire troops and try to make them look more badass than they
Yeah,
are.
I did some of that back in, geez, I want to say early 2000.
Hmm.
Once you get the fairy texture down, it's much easier than it looks.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's one of those things that I think if you start playing around with it, you'll notice that it isn't as difficult, probably. I mean, I don't know, but I would assume it's one of those things that, you can make it look okay-ish,
Oh yeah,
passable quite quickly, and
and
never stop yourself.
remember the goal is to get them on the table, not on an exhibition. So
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Right.
okay, so I think we've almost we're hitting 2 hours and 40 minutes. Has probably been
Oh
one
my
of
God.
our longest streams, and I loved every second of it.
I'm sorry.
No, 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 don't be. Literally, I loved every second of this. It's been great talking to
Okay,
you.
that's good. That's good. That's good.
And if you ever want to come on again, we would be more than happy to have you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this was fun. I mean, I always love interacting with folks in the community and so on, and it's always fun to also see what people comment. I probably missed every sort of comment anyone has said here, but the I get too involved in talking with you and like conversing and whatnot, and then
Yeah, it sounds
but
like juggling. It's hard to keep up with everything.
especially since I'm seeing the stream on two different screens, I'm a little bit like, where should I look? I can see myself in 3 places, and Karl is on 2 places. Weird.
Excuse me.
No worries. Way past my
So,
bedtime.
yeah, it is way past your bedtime. So, Leif, thank you again for joining us. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for watching. So,
Thank you for having me.
been a pleasure, and hope to see you again soon. So, good night, everyone.
Have a good one.
You too. Thanks.